Hello everyone. Myself Parvati and my today's presentation topic is a crisis of representation. Iyengar's secular idealism versus the Tani's communal realities. Here is my academic information and table of contents. This is how we will moving further. And introduction: the Battle of Indians narrative. The quest of define India's post-colonial identity represent one of the modern history most complex cultural project. How to represent a nation of profound diversity, bearing partitions scar while aspiring towards a secular unity. This presentation examined two contrasting visions of circular historical moment. First one is the K.R.S. Iyengar's post-independence project that colonized Indian English literature as celebrating unified composite national culture, and Mahesh Dattani's late centuries dramatic intervention that shift focus on the private space where communal prejudice persists. And my research question is, how does Mahesh Dattani's dramatic works, particularly in Final Solution, function as a critic of the secular nationalist ideology embedded in K.R.S. Iyengar's foundational project of Indian English literature historiography? And hypothesis is that Iyengar's literary criticism and poetry constructed a dominant state-aligned ideology of Indian circularism as a unifying, celebratory composite culture. Dattani's theatre, in contrast, staged a powerful crisis of this representation by exposing the violent communal prejudice and personal traumas that fester in the private domestic these national narrative deliberately ignore or suppress. And the ideal Iyengar's literary circularism, architect of national literary conscience. K.R.S. Iyengar fundamentally shape India's post-independence culture identity by establishing Indian literature as the legitimate academic disciple. He envisaged literature as a unifying and enriching force that reflected composite national culture directly aligned with the constitutional principle of circularism. Through his influential role in institutions like Sahitya Academy, he promoted a unifying nationalist narrative that celebrating unity while consistently overlooking internal feature. His work responds the optimistic national building project of early independence. And the poetic of unity concerns rejection of the decide modern. Iyengar continuously reject modernist poetry disease mind, creating spiritual ethic like Sahitya to resonate poetry as the vehicle of spiritual experiences. His project pursued a greater down, a technological vision of nationally unity that inherently excludes the future realities of communal violence, presenting instead and idealizing forward marching narrative on India's spiritual destiny. And the crisis, Dattani's dramatic intervention, in which Dattani's form subverting the secular stage. Mahesh Dattani revolutionary Indian theatre by moving from a political theatre to doing of a theatre politically. His innovative use of fluid chorus, or we can say mob, internalizing communal conflict as psychological mob within, directly challenging circularism, public-private separations through a split stage technique and temporal collision between past and present. Dattani create cyclical, chaotic structure that firmly reject Iyengar's inner narratives, mirroring instead the under-resolved reputation of communalism in contemporary India. And relocating the conflict, the domestic as a battleground. Dattan is masterfully shift communalism from public square to private homes, where a Muslim boy entering a puja room trigger crisis through character like Aruna, who fears the ritual contaminations, and Hardika, whose partition trauma remains a deep scare on memory. On memory, the Tanis reveal how prejudice thrive in domestic space. These expose the final limitation of state circularism, demonstrating that constitutional ideals cannot legislate against private belief. Thus, shuttling Iyengar's myth of composite culture at its very foundation. Generational divides, the inheritance of prejudice. Dattani reveals communalism as an intergenerational inheritance through the Hardika's diary, which traced her transformation from a friendship with Muslim girls to post-partition bigotry. The younger generation circularism remains fragile. Smita's rebellion against her mother's prejudice, highlighting ongoing negotiation rather than solution. While Javed disillusionment after being swayed by cheap sentiments, exposed the communal violence as an symptom of deeper social crisis that sets circularism fails to address, embodying what crisis term modernity pathologically byproducts. And synthesis and conclusion. The evidence presented established a crucial dialectic between Iyengar's and Dattani's project, where Iyengar's spiritually epic envision a greater dawn of national unity. Dattani's intentionally ambiguous final solution acknowledged no is the final solution, rejecting Iyengar's redemptive technology. This contrast proves Dattani's work serve as an essential corrective to Iyengar's state-aligned nationalist narrative and demanding a more honest secularism, but that confront the private prejudice Iyengar's unifying framework renders invincibility. These are the references. Thank you. This is from my side.
So, Rutvi, my question is that is Iyengar's vision of unfilled India through literature completely dead, or do you see it in any modern Indian writer?
Uh, and it not dead, but it held in vogue. For example, we can take a modern writer like Arundhati Roy, who she not completely unifying India, but he in his work she mentioned about conflict and other ri- ri- other diverse and uh, acknowledging feature which supports somehow supports Iyengar's view on unifying.
Rutvi, my question is if the title is ironic and there's no final solution, what is Dattani suggest we actually do? Is the play just pointing out problems?
Dattani, as per my point of view, Dattani suggests that we don't stop at one single big solution, but we should take someone's experience and we also try to solve that problem. Not wait for end the time that we get one solution, but we take a response from other. We have to ask someone that what should I do? This is the problem. What should I do? Though do not stay at one solution. We should take other response as well as.